What is a crystal grid? You've probably seen them online. They look a little intimidating sometimes. There's a lot to them, but they're basically an arrangement of crystals, usually set to sacred geometry, that are combined according to the properties of those crystals and the correspondences that they have with that intention that you're setting to manifest a desired result, or basically to call in or send out a specific type of energy. When you're creating your crystal grid, you need to have a base, something that you're going to use to follow the sacred geometry shape. You can just sort of feel this out. You can hand draw it. You can have one of these fancy wooden crystal grid boards. You can print something out, whatever you like. But the most important thing is to pick a shape that is going to kind of work along with your intention. So when you're creating a grid, it's good to have that intention in mind. What energy are you looking to call in, or what energy are you sending out? So are you calling in protection? Are you calling in more boundaries? Are you calling in love, prosperity? What is it that you're looking for? And when I say send energy out, kind of the way that we would do like distance healing, something like that. So you figure out what that is and then write out like an affirmation or an intention statement about that specific topic. When you've done that, then you're going to choose your crystal grid base, which is the sacred geometry shape you're going to use, and your crystals. So a really common shape that most people use for their grids is called the flower of life. That's this here. You can also get just a smaller section of this known as the seed of life. That's just made with 7 interlocking circles. Either of them are fine. This one just has a lot more option for placement. And then you're going to pick your crystals. So you will need like a small quartz crystal point that you can use to activate your grid, which we'll do at the end, but that's one of the supplies you'll need. Or you can use something like a selenite wand, a satin spar wand for activation. Either of those will work. Then you need one central stone that sort of sets the main theme for your grid. So think about that intention that you've set. So let's say, and I'm going to see if I can turn you around here. Let's say you have set the intention for love, right? You just want to greet the world with unconditional love. You might choose something like rose quartz. So rose quartz would be an excellent stone to place in the very center of your grid. So let's say that we're going to send out that love. I'm going to pull this rose quartz and set that with my supplies here. Then there are extra places on this grid, and I'll sort of show you on this one, using it as an example, where you're going to further define or refine that purpose or intention. So I want to greet the world with more compassion, more love, more empathy. So rose quartz is a good place to start. I might want to further enhance that with some rhodochrosite, all about empathy and compassion. So I might choose 6 of these small rhodochrosite, 6 of them, because that's the geometry that we follow with this flower of life or seed of life grid shape. But I want to show you, if you were choosing a different crystal grid base, let's say something like this, that's a little bit more freeform. This has sort of 8 points, which can also be useful. 8 being the number of infinite energy, that could be a good option. Maybe your grid is more about intuition. You're working with some moon phases. Maybe you are creating an astrological grid, something more connected to like something like a holiday or your birth chart or something like that. There are so many different options for grid bases. And again, you don't need one of these fancy wooden ones. These are widely available now, but you can also just draw something yourself, print something yourself, whatever you like. So because of the way that this shape intersects, it follows a hexagonal structure. And you can actually sort of see that if you look at how this shape is outlined here. So I would need 6 of these to follow that geometry. So I'm going to pull those 6 aside. and we will use those. And then let's say I want to further refine it a little bit more. What if I want to send out that love and empathy and compassion to people so that they feel whole and healed and supported? Well, then to further refine that intention a little bit more, maybe I want something that's going to call in some healing. So maybe some jade, maybe some green aventurine. That could be nice. So I'm going to grab 6 of these little green aventurine. And we can work with these. So once you have your intention set, you have your sacred geometry shape chosen, you have your crystals selected, you have your crystals that you're going to use for activation, you are all set and you are ready to create your grid. And we're going to start by taking that main stone, the one that's setting the theme for our whole entire grid, and it's going to go in the very center. This is where most of these circles overlap and intersect. So it's like all of these points of energy coming together. So I'm going to start by placing this. And as I place this crystal, I want to think about that intention or affirmation to embrace more love and empathy and compassion for others, to help support them as they go through their healing journey. So that's my initial crystal. Now I'm going to take those supporting stones. So remember, initially I have that love. Now I'm bringing in that compassion and empathy. I want to place these nearest to my central stone at these points of overlap. So you can see I have these outer crystals, outer circles here, inner circles here. And where they overlap at these points, I'm going to place those. So I'm going to just go around. And again, as I place them, I am holding that thought or intention in my mind. So I have one here, and you can see that this is an inner circle because these outer circles actually touch the outer edge. The inner circles don't. So in the center of all of these inner circles, while I hold my intention, I'm going to place one of these rhodochrosite stones. It's a little hard to do with one hand, but I think you get the idea. So there we go, and you can see that hexagon shape taking shape here. Then I'm going to place my green aventurine, which is holding space for that healing for other people, to support them as they're doing this work, as I'm showing up with love and empathy and compassion. So I'm going to place those at the outer edge of the outside circle, which is touching the outer edge of the board here. So I'm going to go ahead and place a green aventurine at each of those spots, holding that intention as I'm placing the crystals. And ideally, as you're doing this, you wouldn't have them sitting on the board, but again, I am holding my phone with the other hand. So you can see the geometry here has taken shape. So I have my central stone, I have my inner row of supporting crystals, I have my outer row of supporting crystals, and they're all on this beautiful sacred geometry shape, which is pulling them together. And the whole purpose of a grid is that it really amplifies and enhances the energy of your intention through the stones, through the crystals, which are amazing amplifiers of energy. But by putting them into this sacred geometry shape, they are now more than the sum of their parts, right? They're working together as one cohesive unit toward your intention. So then you're going to take your activation tool, either a clear quartz point or a selenite or satin spar wand. I really love to work with clear quartz, so that's what I'm going to use. We're going to activate this grid, which sort of brings all of these stones together and aligns them energetically. So it's a little hard to see at first, but you're going to start by pointing the tip or termination of your quartz point toward the central stone and holding that intention for whatever your grid is. For me, again, that love and empathy and compassion that is going to support people as they're doing their healing work. And from the central stone, you want to make connections with all the other stones. So I'm going to start by activating the inner circle of crystals, and then we'll do the outer circle. So pointing the termination toward the center stone, I want to make connections between the rose quartz and all the rhodochrosite. So I'm going to go up to the first rhodochrosite, down along the edge to the next one, back to center, while I hold this intention, back out to the last one, down to the next one, back to center. And I'm going to just repeat this until I have linked up energetically all of these crystals. And while I do this, I am envisioning lines of energy connecting all of these stones. There we go. So now I'm back to the center. So now I want to call in the energy or bring in the energy of those Green Aventurines. So from here, I'm going to go out to the Green Aventurine, down to the next one, back to center, and then back along that line to the one you just did so you don't skip any, down to the next one, back to center, and just keep moving in that way while holding that intention to all stones in the grid until I come back to the one I started with and back to center. And then hold here for just a few moments, sending that intention into the stone, and then the activation is complete.